Irshaad is on their way, alhamdulillah. They'll be soon, inshallah. Okay, Bismillah. So, alhamdulillah, all praise be to Allah for all His favors and all His bounties. I think all of you will only really appreciate fully the favor of where you are once you've left here. You'll only fully appreciate how beautiful and how favored and how blessed you are in these moments, and you have been blessed and favored for the last 2 years once this is taken away. And it's I think it's a sad day because you all have different paths going forward. Allah has different plans for all of you, and life is going to take you to different places, but all of your hearts and souls have come together for these 2 years, and you've become like a sisterhood, together growing and learning and moving towards Allah and changing. So it's been a beautiful and blessed journey. And I think that's the nature of life, is that the nature of life is that things are temporary, things are changing. Assalamu alaikum. So alhamdulillah, we praise Allah for bringing us here, and we thank Allah for these wonderful years that you've been here. Alhamdulillah. And where to next? Where does life take you next? I spent the last few weeks working. I was in Pretoria and Cape Town and so on. I enjoyed the work, alhamdulillah, it's nice. Learn stuff, do stuff, it's interesting. But also when you already move from this environment, you realize the value of this environment. Because once you're back into this environment, there's really nothing more important. And this environment is actually the ultimate environment of beautiful character and refinement and uprightness and nobility. And it's the pinnacle of human existence. And I think we have to really value that. Allah says at the beginning of Surah Ibrahim, Alif Lam Ra, Kitabun anzalnahu ilayka لِتُخْرِجَ النَّاسَ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. So this is a book that we have revealed to you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to remove people from the multitudes of darkness to the one light. And alhamdulillah, we've got next a chance to experience some of the light. And maybe some of us were in darkness before this, and we're struggling through our way, and at least we're never ever going to be in pure light one day, inshallah, but at least maybe we felt some of the nur of the book of Allah, of the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, of the teachings of this beautiful deen, alhamdulillah. So I'll maybe just leave you with some maybe a few words of advice on your way forward. On your way forward. When we speak about the Sahaba, we always say radiallahu ta'ala anhum. The thing that we say about the Sahaba is that Allah is pleased with them. And you've been on a path of knowledge, but the accumulation of knowledge doesn't necessarily mean that you are close to Allah. The accumulation of information, of translation of verses, of ahadith, of Islamic sciences, doesn't necessitate that you're actually close to Allah. So in other words, someone could be here, but they could still be distant from Allah. And someone could be outside, and they could still be close to Allah. So on your journey in life, it's really the most important thing is that you remain close to Allah. And you remain close to Him, and you remain loyal to Him, and you remain faithful to Him, and you remain connected to Him, and you remain serving Him, and you remain worshipping Him until He is pleased with you. And if you have attained His pleasure, you have everything. So yes, this may be a means of you feeling those feelings, but that role and that closeness exists beyond this. It exists outside of this. It transcends every time, every space. It transcends everything. So my one piece of advice to you is that really, hasibu anfusakum. Take account of yourselves and check, is your heart close to Allah? And generally what happens is, even if you're going to do Islamic studies further, the beginning years are sometimes the most potent years. Like the biggest impact is at the beginning actually. So even some of you might want to continue studying here, and continue studying here, and continue studying here. Often when you continue studying, the battle actually becomes more and more difficult. It's like when you see the Kaaba for the first time, it's overwhelming, people cry. But the 10th, 11th, 12th time, it's not so anymore, you know. You live in Makkah and see it every day. Sometimes the beauty, you veil from the beauty. So what you have now is that, I believe that the students in your first year and your second year, you're sometimes the closest to Allah that you've ever been. And you have something now that you feel, many of you feel it, mashallah. You have something that you feel, and you feel close to Allah, and you feel a change in your life, and you feel a change in direction. And now what you have to do is you have to really cling to that feeling, cling to that closeness, because once you're going to leave, it's lots of distraction, and the world takes you to many places that shaitan whispers many things to you, and your own nafs is going to keep hounding you. You have to maintain this closeness to Allah, no matter what you do. That is like the essence of whatever you do outwards with your limbs, whatever you're going to achieve, whatever titles you're going to get. If you are not close to Allah, then you don't actually have anything. You don't have anything. You just have the praise of human beings, which actually means nothing. So the only thing that you must really strive for is the pleasure of Allah. That's on a spiritual level, on the it level. The second thing is that you are going to be making many critical choices. Many of you are, mashallah, very young. You're going to choose someone to marry. You're going to choose a course of study. And even those of you who are older, you're going to choose where to focus your life's energies. Am I going back to my career? Am I going back to this place? Where am I going to go with my life? My belief is that if Allah affords you some flexibility in your choices, try to make a choice that's going to help mankind, as opposed to a choice that's only going to gather more material wealth. Because the best thing you can do is you can do something that serves mankind. You can teach people, you can heal people, you can uplift people, you can do something. The Prophet ﷺ says, خَيْرُكُمْ خَيْرُ النَّاسِ أَنْفَعُهُمْ لِلنَّاسِ, that the best of people are those that are most beneficial to people. And the best of actions is to enter happiness into the heart of a believer. And you have to look for that, you have to strive for that, you have to find that, inshallah. And if you can't do it full time, at least do it part time. Don't ever let your life be devoid of serving humanity. Otherwise it's going to be a whole nafsi life. Just myself, my husband, my children, nafsi life. I don't care about my neighbor. That's not the way of the believer. We are people of ummah. We are people of reaching out. So those two things are really the main things in your life. Is inwardly, are you close to Allah? Are you attached to Him? Are you serving Him? Are you devoted to Him? Are you loyal to Him? Are you attaining His pleasure? And if you attain His pleasure, you will feel His pleasure. And the second thing is that, what are you doing with your life? What are you going to come on the day of Qiyamah and say, Allah, this is my life, my 30, my 40 years you've given me. Ya Allah, you've given me this wealth, this expertise, this degrees, this work experience. Here is my contribution. If you can't do a full-time outreach, humanitarian, making a difference in the world life, then at least you can do it in a part-time level. And even if you're going to go into some commercial business, it's fine, inshallah. Make the niyyah of sustaining families. Make the niyyah of helping people. It's all about the intention. If the orientation is right, it doesn't matter if you become an accountant or engineer, whatever you do, as long as the intention is right, then the fruits will manifest. I tell many of the small business owners, what you're doing, mashallah, you're giving 5 family sustenance, because you're employing 5 men or five families. It's an enormous khidmah. But you must have that effect in your heart, that niyyah in your heart. So you're going to treat them, you're not going to underpay them, you're going to help them develop and grow. It's a different type of interaction that you have. You're trying to maximize them just to get the most profit out. It's a different kind of philosophy, a different type of approach. And my last piece of advice is just that, in my experience, that you can't really maintain your spirituality unless you keep good company. So mashallah, you have a beautiful sisterhood now. You should develop the sisterhood and you should develop these bonds. You should become friends. You must invite each other over also for your birthday or for tukmal or weddings or whatever. Have a WhatsApp list, invite each other over and maintain these bonds. Attend classes together, attend al-Carr together. Because we are social beings, we get impacted all the time. All the time. So if you maintain this beauty that you have, what we have here is a beautiful environment, a beautiful social environment, maintain it going forward. Maintain it going forward. And then if you do those 3 things, you'll be able to still be where you are now. So it's not about you leaving Zahra Institute. Is you are taking Zahra Institute with you. And the essence of Zahra Institute is the Quran and life of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So not leaving it, going away from it. You are leaving with it. You are taking it with you. Obviously, you don't want to leave it here. It's yours. The book of Allah now is yours. The life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is yours. His beauty, his teachings is all yours. So now you walk into the world with it. And you walk as an illuminated being through life. And for us as teachers, it's a very exciting prospect. It's a very exciting prospect. Because we actually expect great things from you. And especially our women, mashallah. The men are always late, but the women, mashallah, they're always on time. Also, tell me. Muhammad, fadal. So the women, we expect great things from you. But fadal. Alhamdulillah. And finally, after those 3 things, we finally, from myself and all the teachers, we also ask you for your du'as and your forgiveness. One of our great hopes in the day of Qiyamah is that despite all our shortcomings and despite all our flaws that you may not see, is that we have feelings like you, that Allah has blessed us to be a part of your journey, and then perhaps something of your amal and your actions and your good hearts will accrue to us and be a means of our salvation. So we ask you for your constant dua for your teachers and for their families, and Allah must guide them and forgive them and cover all the many shortcomings. Allahumma ameen. I pray Allah blesses you and guides you, illuminates you, and make you of the people of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and make you the people of Ahlul Jannah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All praise and thanks is due solely to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Choices, peace, blessings and salutations upon our master and exemplar, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. MashaAllah, the honor of having been from among those to take this journey is indeed a great honor, because it is an honor bestowed upon you by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's no ordinary journey. I like to refer to it as the journey from Iqra to Taqwa, through the first and last verses of the Quran. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq.
read in the name of your Lord who created. And the eventuality of that, the journey of that takes you through to وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. Have taqwa of the day that you would be returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I believe strongly that this doesn't just define your path of knowledge in terms of deen. I honestly believe, looking at history, that this defines your journey of life regardless of which aspect of knowledge you enter. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended for us to pursue knowledge as a whole. And I believe that it was this motivation that took our first pioneers of Islam, our first from among those who took Islam to other countries and other lands and became the masters in all the different sciences, be it medicine or mathematics or astrology. I always get confused with it's astronomy or astrology, but the one that's free of the hibby-jibby, astronomy. They were the leaders in the sciences. I believe that came about because of their understanding of what Allah wants from them in terms of the pursuit of knowledge. And regardless of, and Moulana Khalil touched on this as well, regardless of where you may find yourself and where you choose to exert your energy, it is important that it is motivated by the correct reason. We have great doctors, we have great scientists today, even in the Muslim community. So why don't we see the type of great influence from Muslims that we did in the past? You see, the doctors and the great thinkers of the past were Muslims. They didn't drive nice cars or live in nice houses. They were like everybody else. Their motivation was purely to make a contribution to humanity, to make a contribution to this creation for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It might have been that the doctor was inspired by the Quran saying, وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. It might have been that an astronomer was influenced by a verse of the Quran that says, وَفِي السَّمَاءِ رِزْقُكُمْ. Their motivation was for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you read, in other words, when you educate yourself, when you learn, let it always be for Allah's sake. And then no matter what path you may be taking, you can make that a beneficial path for humankind. Bi-idhnillah ta'ala. And if it makes a contribution to humankind and it has the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as its motivation, then what could possibly stop it from being successful? The likeliness of everyone becoming an alim, everyone who studies deen, taking up a position of an alim, taking up a position of a teacher. It might sound like, that's the ultimate. But it's not necessarily the only way that we can find greatness and make an impact in the world. I believe that if students such as yourselves and ourselves, that if we take the knowledge of deen, which does change you, it does change you. If you allow it to, if you open up your heart to it, it changes you. You think differently, you feel differently, you see the world differently. If you allow that to make an impact in your life, it will change you. That changed individual should then go out and become, in society, what society really needs. The masajid, the schools, the various institutes that we have, everywhere you go there's a committee. Everywhere you go, there's a board. Everywhere you go, there's a group of people who make the decisions. But I welcome you to go and check, and you'll find that 99% of those individuals who take these major responsibilities up in society, they are not the people who studied deen. They are the ones who are often dictating to the people who studied deen. They are the ones who are often influencing the people who studied deen. But we can change that, and we should change that. Schools can be made better places when people such as yourselves, those who have studied deen, take up those positions. It's not only an imam in the mosque, it's not only a mu'allima in the afternoon madrasa, it's not only a lady teaching a Sunday morning class, for example. Not that there's anything wrong with any of those. It's a very honorable. خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ. But we also need those individuals who have been through the journey of Qur'an, understanding what Allah wants from them, who have been through the journey of understanding the basics of deen, to take up those platforms that require some responsibility, because those platforms of power, they are the ones that will really need what Allah has given you. And I think it's not doing justice in society when, if we all who study deen just go home and just do our own little thing, and we just focus on myself, my wife, my kids, and then my teaching, my class, etc. We need to become productive members of society, and that's how we can contribute towards positive change, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So where there are positions available, we need to take up those positions, take the responsibility, because I believe it is a gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. And the way we show gratitude for that gift is by using that gift to please the gift giver. The best of you, as Moulana Khalil also quoted by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best of people are those who are most beneficial to people. The Prophet ﷺ explained this in various ways and at various times, and he gave different attributes of that. One of the beautiful ways in which he put this, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, was al-mu'min al-qawi khayrun wa ahabbu ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala min al-mu'min al-da'if wa fi kullin khayr. That a strong believer is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than a weak believer, but in both they are good. And he then further elaborates, alayhi salatu wasalam, saying, ihris ala ma yanfa'uk. So be enthusiastic and pursue that which will be beneficial to you. Never ever become complacent in where you are at right now. Improve yourselves, gain more skills, read more, learn more, teach more, write more. Remember we spoke about this the other day. Become better always, in every aspect of your lives. And today, subhanAllah, we cannot say that it's difficult because there's a shortage of information. Very quickly, I don't want to carry on too long, but my mother's late aunt, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted Jannah, at the time she told me that she was like 91, I think. She lived to, I'm not sure if it was 99 or 100, but nonetheless. She was an amazing person. She told me that, you are so lucky. She's speaking to me now. She said, you're so lucky. You are able to go to Strand and go and learn deen there. And you might even think that that's far. She said, I attended one of the first Arabic classes ever to open up in Cape Town by the late Moulana Yusuf Carr, and I had to take a horse and cart to get to class. And it would take me a couple of hours to get there and a couple of hours to get back. That was the type of sacrifice that I had to make. We can't complain that there's a shortage of knowledge. Name a topic, I'll get you the information in a couple of seconds. Right? Whether I'm knowledgeable about it or not, I'll Wikipedia myself out of the situation. So the supply has increased. And in economics, when the supply increases but the demand stays the same, the value drops. And this is the problem that we're sitting with. And because there's such an oversupply of everything, it sounds like a good thing. More mosques, more hufaz, more ulama, more this, more that, more. Alhamdulillah, that's good. The problem is demand hasn't also increased with it. So now the value drops in our hearts. So we can't complain that we don't have access to it to improve ourselves. We have access to knowledge. What we need to increase in ourselves is that ihris ala ma yanfa'uk. To develop that thirst that the Prophet wanted us to have, to always improve, always become better, always improve, always become better. And the reason for us wanting to improve and to become better is because if we are strong believers, we'll be more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than when we are weak believers. And to conclude, when we think about our journey in terms of pursuing knowledge, even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala distinguishes people of knowledge. And there's various verses and ahadith to show this, but an interesting one is when Allah actually asks the question, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Right, fine. And this is the part that always gets quoted. Say, are those who know the same as those who don't know? But in the context of the verse, we see that it's actually not the knowledge itself that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praising, but rather the actions of those with knowledge. And that is the prelude to the verse. Say, is the one who stands at night, in the hours of the night, standing, bowing, praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is that person the same as the one who doesn't? Is the one who knows the same as the one who does not know? In other words, this highlights the fact that through our knowledge, it's supposed to give us that connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it seems as though our knowledge is only as good as the amount of practice it leads us to. And for as long as knowledge is leading us to practice, it is benefiting us. But the moment it no longer leads us to practice, it now becomes harmful. And it now counts against us. So pursue, but always act. For your action, according to what you pursue, is more important than the pursuit itself. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد والحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The class today is the fullest I've seen it ever. Subhanallah. I dreaded coming here this morning because I knew I'm going to be in the situation that I find myself in currently. And I thought that let me rather plan and think about something to say. So I thought about doing that, but it didn't actually come to that. So I'm back to square one, where I was yesterday, dreading this moment. So the class and stuff I can handle fairly well, I think. But when it comes to the graduation and stuff, and then it's a different ballgame altogether. I was actually thinking of asking you, what do you think I should say?
Is that a rhetorical question?
No, this is a serious one. This one requires an answer. So I was thinking of a few things on my way here. And it's unique sometimes how when you think about something and you serve a platform with scholars, and how Allah in His unique and amazing way somehow just creates links between what has been said and what is going to be said. I was thinking along the lines of, what is the best thing for you to actually do now that you've completed your studies? What would be the best thing for you to do? What is the optimum thing for you to do? And sometimes the most difficult of decisions is really not between what is good and bad. I think coming here and having the experience of journeying through Quran, which ultimately really is a book of guidance. So from this point onwards, you're equipped with that, tools of guidance. So if you imagine life to be like a dark road, but in order for you to traverse and travel that road, you basically need your way to be lighted up. So alhamdulillah, in the course of time that you spent here, you've been given that light. And that light basically comes primarily in the form of Quran, and then basically exemplified and showed to us in the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now equipped with that, you're going to now continue your journey throughout life. So what to do now? So for many of us, it's going to be like a juncture. What do? I resume my old life, or basically I create a new path. What is it that I'm going to do? I think in that process, the most difficult thing is not between what is good and bad, that's clear. And Quran has helped you to ascertain what is good and what is bad. But really the challenging thing may be that, what is better and what is best. So how do I continue this journey of life in a manner that's not better perhaps, but best? And that is sometimes a difficult situation. And then I realized that I'm speaking primarily to women folk. So, your contribution may be somewhat different from the contribution that men folk perhaps do. But before going there, I just want to touch on the idea of the fact that whatever we do, in whatever role we play, I think the most important thing to understand from the very outset before discussing our role is that whatever role we're going to play is going to be the ambit of a greater role and purpose, and that's the purpose of our existence. You and I, we are the slaves of Allah. And through this program we've come to realize that number one, we are grateful to Allah who is our master. And that attitude of gratitude leads to an attitude of servitude. So primarily we want to lead our lives in a way that pleases Allah. So how do we do that optimally? That I think is a question that we need to ask ourselves. How do I do that optimally? So there's many things you can do. But for example, if I employ an architect, I can't ask the architect to do bricklaying work. I'm going to have to get a bricklayer to do the bricklaying work, and the architect does the architecture. So the better and best, if you look at that, you want to do what is better. So in other words, you want to do the architect work and you don't want to do the bricklaying work. So how is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitated, and what work really is your architectural work? So firstly, Allah has created you as a slave of Allah, number one. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you in a unique way and fit for a very high purpose. And I don't think we're living in a time where there's a greater need for you to fulfill that higher purpose which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you for. And it reminds me of a story mentioned by Abu al-Hasan al-Nadwi rahmatullah alayhi. And he was a linguist, an Arabic linguist, and also he was a historian. These were his two main achievements academically. And also he was a giant. He passed away many years ago. And just to give you an indication of what type of personality we're talking about, he passed away on a Friday. And the Friday he passed away, he had recited, as was his normal routine, he had recited Surah Yasin 13 times in the morning. When he passed away, and normally if you pass away in a certain area, then you can read the funeral prayer, what they call it in absentia, absentia. In absentia. In absentia. So that's exactly what they did for him. And on that Friday, his salah in absentia was performed both in the Haram of Makkah and Medina. So we're talking about at least 2.5 million people making the janazah salah on Sheikh Abul Hasan al-Nadwi rahmatullah alayhi. So great personality, great activist, and his primary achievements was in history and Arabic. So he talks about history, and he says he addressed a group of ladies like he was addressing, like I'm addressing you now. So it's nice if you read, you can just regurgitate what the scholars have said, and makes life easier. So Sheikh Abul Hasan al-Nadwi said that I'm sitting with like a puzzle, and that I don't have a solution for it. The puzzle, he said, that the ground rule in terms of civilizations is that when a lesser civilization is exposed to a more developed civilization, what happens? In our time and in our culture, we call it assimilation. What happens is that the lesser culture, they abandon their ways and they adopt the culture of the more developed and more sophisticated civilization. But what happened was the Arabs, when they left the Arabian Peninsula, and then what happened was they were exposed to the Roman Empire, the Roman civilization, and the Persian, which was much more advanced than what they were. But did you find that the Arabs left their own Islamic culture behind? No. So you want to know what was the reason for that? What was the reason for that? What was the reason that that assimilation didn't actually occur? He says the reason for that was because before the Arabs left their homeland, left the bedrock, Makkah and Medina at the time, what happened? They were established in terms of two things. Established in terms of their belief, firmly planted in the ground, and they were established in terms of their character. But where does this happen? Where does this development of Iman and Akhlaq, where does it take place? It takes place in the home. And the first, you can go to the first university that the child gets exposed to is that of his mother. In today's time, what happens is we look at our children, for example, and the greatest, this is like, we're talking about better and best. What is the best contribution that you can possibly make? Or one of the greatest contributions that you can possibly make is do the same what the Sahabiyat did for the Sahaba, and you'll be making indeed a great contribution. And this was the contribution that they made within the confines of the home. They looked after Iman and they looked after Akhlaq. And this is so crucial for our current generation and for our generation going forward, because what is happening is we are looking at our children and we're looking at their development, we're looking at their cognitive development, we're looking at their physical development, but somehow or the other we are becoming somewhat negligent in terms of their identity development, their Iman, and their character development in terms of their Akhlaq. And they can achieve whatever other development, but if it's not housed in Akhlaq and Iman, then haba and mansura, then it doesn't really amount to much. So, and that's what's happening is we the bricklayers, the men, we can't do the architect work. But that is the reality of it. And Allah in His unique way, in the way Allah created us with certain, they call it, Dr. Ramadan al-Bouti refers to it, أفضل التناسل, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had created you in a way that almost like fit for purpose. But the purpose that you fit for is not, this is the purpose that I'm fit for. It's a unique way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us in that particular, manner. So Allah has created us for this different purposes. So this responsibility of developing the identity and developing the character of our future generation, this is a joint responsibility. But since the mother is the first university, it is to a great degree your responsibility. Iman and Akhlaq. I had heard from one of our leading contemporary scholars, and he gave the example, and on this particular point, inshallah, that he talks about Maryam alayhi salam and the mother of Maryam alayhi salam. Now the mother of Maryam, when she gave birth, she had expected a boy, because she had an intention for this particular boy, that this boy, look at the intention. The intention was that this boy will be in the service of Islam, in the service of Deen. That was his intention. That was her intention. And then when she gave birth to a boy, she thought that now her hopes are dashed. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Allah knows best in terms of who you have given birth to. But the focus is the intention. What was the mother's intention? That this child must achieve, yes, but the foremost achievement must be to become a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to fulfill the very objective of the child's existence. So they made this intention. So Maryam alayhi salam was born, and she was put into the service of her uncle. And she used to serve her uncle in a particular way. Then Maryam alayhi salam, further on, what happened? She gave birth to Isa alayhi salam. So Isa alayhi salam is come already, is yet to come. Is yet to come. Is yet to come. When the mother of Maryam made the intention that there's going to be a pious offspring and going to live their life according to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that intention, ulama say, was so powerful that that intention hasn't yet come to fruition. It's already borne fruit. But it was so powerful intention, it resulted in Maryam being of service in the mihrab. But that intention was so powerful of the mother that it's yet to run its course. So likewise, when we in our homes fulfilling our capacity as mothers, fulfilling our capacities as grandmothers, as sisters, as caregivers, and our primary responsibility must be a niyyah. And what should that niyyah be, whoever we interact with? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted us the enabling tools in order to fulfill this function so beautifully, that we must develop the next generation of the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some of our scholars, they put it so beautifully, they say even if a mother has this intention, but the child doesn't turn out in accordance to the intention of the mother, that mother will still be rewarded for raising a pious child. Even though, the reality may have been something else. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks at the intention. So, to get back to the beginning of what we were speaking about, the difficult decision would be what is better and what is best. But we look to guidance from the Quran, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a certain way has almost in broad strokes prescribed where optimally we can fulfill our function in terms of taking the ummah forward. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your coming here, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the Quran what it actually intended out to be. Inna hadha al-Quran yahdi lillati hiya aqwam. Definitely it guides to that which is most upright. So now we may be doing right things, but now you do which is most aqwam. So may Allah cause the Quran to be that light in our lives. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.